Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 4:05 in the afternoon. We're now back to final discussion is the final look, at H398, which is the Vermont Economic Development Authority. We have our legislative Wood with us. Cameron, if you can walk us through the latest draft.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. For the record, Cameron Wood, Office of Legislative Counsel. So we walked through this morning your committee amendment for H398, which is a strike all. So I've made a few minor tweaks since this morning, and since they were all really relatively minor, I simply updated it to draft 1.2. And the first change subsequent to this morning is on page 26. And this is the strategy, if you recall, that we are putting into statute. I just made a minor change here. So the authority shall make a determination, and I simply made that change to then coincide with the, I'm going to come back to this one, with the sub 2 that I said that I wanted to add, which is all determinations and findings made by the authority pursuant to this section shall be conclusive. And that's just similar language to what you see in all of their other subchapters related to the loans and the findings they make in regards to loans, etc. So circling back up to the edit that I quickly scanned over. If you recall, in this subsection, wanted to add language here saying that, projects that are reducing, mitigating, or eliminating the effects of climate change within that section can be included as well. So simple addition there. And I will keep scrolling because the only other edit, 2 more, is this is in the fund that we're creating, the Disaster Recovery Loan Fund. Wanted to add a specific sentence here saying that the consultation shall not be required in the event there is a disaster declaration declared by the governor or the president of the United States. So if there is a formal disaster declaration, there doesn't need to be a consultation in order for the funds to be available to then be dispersed. Okay. The last change I simply made was in the appropriations section. I was going to reference back to the statute, but it was easiest actually to simply add agricultural enterprises here in this section. If you recall, it simply said businesses. We're wanting to ensure that it's both businesses and agricultural enterprises. So I simply added it here. That was the easiest thing to do. So okay. Those are the amendments.
Any question?
Just on the disaster area declared by governor, president, do we need to specify that it should be a local area, or is that a concern? Because they could declare a disaster in California and VEDA could say, not that they would, oh, well, there's a disaster declared, so.
I don't think they would, given the small amount, of funds available. You can add that if the committee would like. I think it's a little bit of belt and suspenders, but I can also make that recommendation on the Senate side if they would like to edit it. So for those following along online, I believe what the question is, consultation shall not be required in the event of a disaster declaration declared by the governor. Okay, that's going to be limited to the state of Vermont. The governor's not going to declare a disaster in another state. However, it does say a disaster declaration declared by, let's say there was a disaster declaration declared in New Hampshire that is impacting Vermont businesses. In theory, VEDA could issue funds based on that if there was some economic impact to the state. So I think this language would allow that, which may be your intention, or your intention may be, no, we want it to be disasters limited to a declaration for the state of Vermont, in which case you could add language there to limit that declaration.
VEDA have authority to provide funds for businesses outside of Vermont. I mean, if they're doing business in Vermont, but if it's a business that's not doing business in Vermont.
I assume, keyword assume, the answer is no, but I would defer that question to VEDA. You know, my understanding of the statute and the framework here and the findings that have to be made, the purposes that are built into the very beginning is this is all intended to be economic, driven by, economic development and workforce in the state. So if there were no impacts to the state, then I assume, no economic activity occurring in the state, I assume they're not going to fund out any money. But in the concept that I had in my head, if you had a disaster that was declared in the state of New Hampshire, however, it is impacting businesses that are in the state of Vermont. I think under this language, in theory, they could issue out funds. In theory, could be a stretch of the language. The first sentence in the subsection does limit it to areas impacted by the state, so. But I don't think it would be a wholly unreasonable reading based on the question that was proposed.
Yeah, I think. Okay. The first sentence, disaster events impacting areas of the state. So I think we're covered by understanding that, and I think the legislative intent is that it's disasters in the state. Yeah, I think we're all right. Other question? Everybody good? Okay. All right. Entertain a motion to report favorably on H398. This is draft 1.2.
1.2, yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Representative Karis Duncan. Any further discussion? If not, clerk can call roll.
Representative Bosch,
Yes.
Representative Booton.
Yep.
Representative Karis Duncan.
Yes.
Representative Cooper,
Yes.
Representative Duke,
Yes.
Representative Mickless,
Yes.
Representative Olson,
Yes.
Representative Priestley, yes. Representative White,
Yes.
Representative Granny,
Yes.
Representative Markup.
Yes. For, want to report this on the floor?
Or was it the other one?
This one.
Yes, you. Would somebody want to do this one?
I can do this one.
Okay.
Oops.
I will get you a clean copy because the version that you have has highlights.
Okay.
I want to send that one. So, yeah, we'll get you a clean copy over here shortly.
Okay.
Good.
Get that, Emily, you can figure it out to does the clerk know that we have? Yeah. Thank you, Cameron.
Let me know if you need anything.
Wait a minute.
Right. Afternoon,
Good afternoon.
not quite evening. Coming upon the time, or I can say that officially. Rick Sagal, Office of Legislative Counsel. Mr. Chair, 206, correct? Is that where we're starting? The
Yeah.
business organizations?
43, right?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Was it wait a second?
The numbers are all really close together.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, it's not my fault. I can read. It's the other people's fault. Yes. Let me pull up the Zoom. 243. Anna Grace, could you send me a Zoom invite? It does not appear to be on the calendar. Oh, okay. Then I can do that. There we go. So we have a updated draft of the amendment, and one thing I didn't say last time, which I meant to, is that this is a committee amendment because it was a short form bill, the way it was introduced. You may remember David Hall had the language, but it was hard to put those edits in a bill in the time frame that I had to, so I made it a short form, which requires an amendment. So this will not be the bill introduced. This will be the bill as amended, and this is a strike all amendment, which means basically you are seeing everything that this bill will be. So just going to go over the changes from the last version I went over earlier this afternoon. One thing, after talking to the chair and David about the title change, we decided not to change the title. I promise I didn't fight him off screen about it. It was a request, and we decided to remove that from the bill, the title redesignation. But we are going to have his office look at that during their study to see, because we have 11A, B, and C, and there might be some way to do it all at once instead of redoing just 11, then redoing 11A, B, C. So we may decide to just do it all at one time. So that part was removed. Unfortunately for me, that was section 3. So I had to renumber I had to renumber every section after section 3. So I'll go down to the other change I made besides the section numbers, which is the last section, the study of the Secretary of State's office. Okay, couple things I did. I added the word study because we're calling this a study. So I said that they should conduct the study, this public engagement process with interested partners to study, consider, and address the following issues. I just felt the word study was important, but you all can disagree with me. Maybe think on that for a second. So subdivision 2, this is where I added the portion about the title redesignation. So 2 already said to look at the statutory revisions to adopt the Uniform Business UBOC, I believe he was calling it, or other provisions to further harmonize the laws governing business organizations in the state, including provisions governing commercial registered agents, and this is the new language, and updates to the titles of the Vermont statutes annotated related to business organizations. So that's just that reorganization aspect I was talking about. No other changes to the task of the secretary. We've added this reporting requirement. And remember, it was in the very top of the section. I moved it to its own subsection. So the Secretary of State shall, based on the tasks set forth in the previous subsection, submit to the House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development and to the Senate Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs an interim report on or before November 15, 2025, and a final report on or before December 1st, 2026, including its findings and any proposed legislation for the General Assembly's consideration. And I wanted to make sure it was clear that the interim report shall provide the General Assembly with any recommended actions to pursue in the 2026 legislative session. They can do more than that, but I thought that was a concern of the committee, so. And those were the changes to the last draft.
Question? Everybody's good? Entertaining a motion to report favorably on H 243 draft 1.3.
I'll move.
Second. Representative Nicholas, second by Representative Bosch. Is there any further discussion? If not, clerk can call the roll.
Representative Bosch,
Yes.
Representative Booton,
Yes.
Representative Karis Duncan,
Yes.
Representative Cooper,
Yes.
Representative Duke,
Yes.
Representative Miklas,
Yes.
Representative Olson,
Yes.
Representative Priestley, yes, Representative White,
Yes.
Representative Cranning,
Yes.
Representative Markup.
Yes.
Cooper for this one.
Very good.
Sorry.
I mean, what you need from me as far as, we'll talk about it offline. Yep, sure.
So both Emily and John, that these have to go to.
Peace, yep.
Oh, great. Yours is going to appropriation.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we'll start from it.
Right.
Okay.
So you have time to get your.
Right, like
it'll get
report?
sent there. They'll both get sent there tomorrow.
Okay,
So they'll probably take them up Friday or next Tuesday when it, so it could come up for action. Next Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, she needs to notify.
So two things, you still have to send to Nigel the clean copy with all the information in it. How we voted favorable, that you're the reporter,
Yeah,
And
it's favorable with amendment.
and when they're taking it up in those respects. Live.
They may ask you to go.
They
in.
may-
They do let us know. One of us will go down with you.
and I've just sent you both the checklist.
Good. Yeah.
To be Martin. We're promised cookies.
We were promised cookies.
We can win.
These are chocolate chip. There is a knife. There are
Oh, wow.
5, so have them. And I have napkins.
Whoa, wow, yeah, I was not the good one. I was gonna break it.
Oh, I just texted them too.
Thank you for the cookie.
Well,
Did you?
well,
Okay.
Anna Grace, let's go off for until March.